Unfortunately, we have this stereotype in America that if you're smart, you must be, geeky or nerdy or boring. So people tend to isolate you. But I found a niche in the marching band. Just because you're a marching band person, they call you a band geek. So I was not only a nerd, but I was a geek. But I had my circle of friends, and when you're smart, you can either hide it and goof off and dumb yourself down to be accepted by people, or you let it shine. And trust me, if you guys have aptitude, you should let it shine, because it will serve you well for the rest of your life. I actually joined the military while I was in college. I had a scholarship to go to medical school. So in other words, I signed on as a second lieutenant, I signed on as an officer, and they agreed to pay for my medical school education. But while I was going to medical school, every summer I spent on one Air Force base or another in Texas, learned how to, not to fly a plane, but I actually did get to fly a plane. They take you up in trainer jets and you get to take over the controls. You learn a lot about, you learn how to become an officer in the service. And then I did my residency in the military. So I worked in a military hospital, and then I spent 4 years after my residency paying back my time. And some of the best times of my life. Got to travel, see the world. I lived in Japan for 3 years. It was really a lot of fun.
Well, I went to work at the post office. I was called, it was the summer, and I just got out of JC, and I was looking for a job, and I went to work at a mill, and the work was not real pleasant. It was what they call pulling green chain, and about 2 weeks after that, the postmaster called me and wanted to know if I was interested in going to work for the post office. And I said, boy, am I. I was glad to get out of that mill. The mill was down at Asti, where Redwood Empire is now. And anyway, he said, we can only pay you $1.36 an hour. And I was getting $1.51 down there, and I said, well, I'll take it anyway. I was anxious to get out of that mill. And so he said, it could be only temporary work. I can't guarantee a permanent job. And I said, well, that's fine. So it ended up being about 30 years of work at the post office here in Cloverdale. In fact, the building that the post office is in now, that was finished in May of 1951, and I went to work there in July of 51. So right after it was finished. Yeah. Well, there was not as many environmental problems in those days. If you did a good job taking care of things, nobody complained about any of the problems that may have developed because of the dairy. But the Depression, they had the dairy and the creamery through the Depression, and actually it was an asset, because they had as much money as most people, or more people, at the time, only because they had the dairy and the creamery business, where there were a lot of people out of work. Because I remember as a child growing up, our dairy was near the railroad tracks just south of Cloverdale, and there was a lot of what we called hobos in those days, walking the tracks and riding the rails. And they used to come up to our house there and ask my mother for sandwiches. They'd work for something to eat, because there was not any welfare in those days or anything. They had to survive the best they could. And I remember that she always made them an egg sandwich. Never put them to work, but give them an egg sandwich and they'd be on their way. But it was tough times in the 30s. Although I was very young, I certainly remember it, because it made an impression on me, these guys walking the tracks, and sometimes they only had one shoe on, the other foot was wrapped with a cloth. And one time we had a dog. He was a little aggressive, and he grabbed this one fellow's foot, and he took off running with the cloth. And the cloth there, he must have had about 10 yards of cloth on his foot. The dog ended up with the cloth. Well, we had to take it away from him, of course, and give it back to the fellow so he could wrap his foot up. So things were very tough in those days. Things aren't good today, but they were much worse in those days because of the fact they didn't have the benefits that they have today. Yeah.
Hubo muchas. Yo cuando me fui de México a Morelia, fue porque me cambié de escuela. Pero después de Morelia me moví a Uruapan, porque en Uruapan era donde estaba la facultad. Pero fueron muchas aventuras. Por ejemplo, los estudiantes de la Universidad Michoacana, muchos son muy inquietos. Yo les digo que la competencia entre muchos de nosotros, de los que éramos de la Universidad Michoacana, era de quién traía las mejores botas para caminar en el cerro e ir a enseñarles a los indígenas a leer y escribir o a hablar en español. Y esas eran unas de las aventuras, porque teníamos que pelearnos con el gobierno para que nos diera material para ellos, para que nos diera muchas cosas para la gente que vivía, que no tenía camino, que tenía que caminar 4 horas para llegar a su comunidad. Y yo tenía pues, la edad que tienen ustedes, 16 a 18 años. Y esa era una de las aventuras que era muy difícil, pero que te gustaba hacerlas. Se aprendió mucho, aprendí mucho yo de ahí.
So one of the things I really love about going to Mexico, I feel every time I go, like sometimes I get caught up in this fast, because I feel like it's such a fast pace of life here. Always like, you know, you always have to do this, always have to do that. Like it's so competitive, you know, you have to do this, your resume. Oh, you have, you know, like you have to apply, like all of this stuff. So I feel every time I go, and maybe because I'm on vacation and I don't have all these other like stresses in life, but it's just, I always come back really humbled, I feel, just like seeing the poverty, because some of my aunts and family, like immediate family, are extremely poor in Mexico. And it's just, I sometimes forget that there's like people, like, you know, because now it's like, oh, we live in a house, we own a house, you know? And over there, it's like, they're still working a ton, and it's just, it's really sad to see. So I feel like it kind of grounds me every time I go to Mexico and just come back and see, oh my gosh, wow, like we are so privileged to live in America. You know, we're so privileged, like just to have this education, to be able to go to college. Like there, even if you go to college, it means nothing, because you get a job either way, like if you go to college or not. Like it really doesn't make a difference. So it's just, I come back and I'm like, wow, oh my God, we're so privileged. I come back humbled every time, and it's just the pace of life too. It's like you go walk to get your vegetables, you know, your fresh vegetables every day, or you go and make like whatever you want to cook. Like there's stores on every corner. You walk there. Like you don't really use cars where I'm from, at least. And it's here. It's like, oh, we don't, like I have a corner deli is like 2 blocks away, and I always drive. Like you know, it's just, it's a completely different life, and that's why I love going to Mexico, because it just reminds me of home, and it's like family, and it's humbling, and I feel like people need that. And I feel like that's why I like to travel too, because you just become more self-aware of like people, like different cultures and different like the ways that people live, and you know, it's just different from your own. Because even like now I have friends, and I'm like, oh, you grew up like that. I forget that everybody doesn't grow up like I did, you know, or like how I was raised in my household. And it's interesting to see how other people are raised.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Spitia.
Hi, my name is Ariana Fernandez.
Hi, my name is Edgar Bedira.
Hi, my name is Juan Cardenas.
My name is Cole McDonald.
I'm Anthony Rink.
And I'm Alexandra Lopez.
My name is Jesus Huey.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Sanchez.
And my name is Eduardo Kuhn.
My name is Nathan Waldron.
And I'm Alejandra Perez.
My name is Celeste Gastineau.
And I'm Eric Lay.